How is it going, everybody? This is Sean Barnes. I want to welcome you to episode 26 of The Way of the Wolf. For those of you watching the show on YouTube, you will see that I am actually recording in a different room. I've been mentioning making progress on my podcast studio here in one of the spare bedrooms of my house. Finally got to a point where I've got my table built. I have my wolf head logo hung in the background, kind of experimenting with a little bit of lighting. It's starting to come around. Definitely not finished yet, but once it is, I will be doing a quick little tour virtually and showing everybody kind of what we've got set up here. So on the show today, I'm going to be talking about finding your own leadership style and how important this really is. You know, I've shared my story with a lot of you in person or here on the show. And one of the things that I've realized as I've reflected back over the years is that leaders end up kind of coming into their own and developing and building their own leadership style over time. You can see people try to emulate other leaders or people that they view as mentors or look up to. In the end, at least in my experience, these successful leaders end up settling into their own and figuring out what works best for them. When I think about good leaders that I've worked with or for or looked up to over the years, they had a specific leadership style that worked out really well for them. And at times I would try to emulate some of the things that I saw. Well, quite frankly, I tried to just emulate their leadership style in its entirety. And what I realized is I'm not Stacy Rocca. I'm not Jason Hitchcock. I'm Sean Barnes. So while they have specific leadership traits and skills that work well for them, I don't have their life experiences. I'm not the same as they are, and that's okay. But what you can do is start identifying specific traits that you admire about those leaders and about those people, and then start to kind of build that in to who you are and your leadership style. And over time, you will hit a groove and you will figure out what really works best for you. So trying to emulate a person, okay, that's all well and good, but you're going to be more successful if you really try to identify specific traits that are meaningful to you and then building that into who you are as a leader. Whenever you do this, it actually takes time. It's not an overnight process. It's a lot of trial and error. You've got to figure out, hey, Hitch can get away with talking to somebody like that because he's a retired Navy SEAL Master Chief, kind of comes in with a hammer type approach. For me, I can't deliver the same message in the same way. I mean, we can go into kind of go down a whole rabbit hole on that topic, but the intent behind the message today is figure out what works for you. Now, you can take certain elements from those leaders that you kind of aspire to be or achieve the things that they've achieved, but you've got to take those specific traits that you admire. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that this process takes time. You can accelerate the process if you put a concerted amount of effort into building your own leadership skills and traits. So you can accelerate the process, but at the end of the day, it just takes time. So having patience is key. I myself am not a patient person at all. And in recent years, I've learned, okay, I have to be patient because these things take time. Trying to teach young leaders how to be patient, that's yeah. When I try to think about myself 10, 15 years ago, nobody could have taught me how to be patient. And one of the things I realized is I can coach, guide, and mentor all I want to, but until that person lives it and experiences certain things, they're never going to listen. They might say they listen and say, oh yeah, I get it, that makes sense. But until they live it and come through that challenge or that adversity that they're faced with, they're really not likely going to actually learn the lesson. So when you start thinking about building your own leadership style, there's a few core fundamental elements that you have to focus on, really building trust in relationships, not just with the members of your team, your peers, but also obviously the people that report into you, that look up to you, that you're trying to lead day in and day out. But you have to develop trust and have strong relationships with all of those above you in the chain of command as well. Something that is sometimes overlooked, because when you start having the conversation about leading up, people get a little finicky because their boss controls their livelihood. And I use air quotes there because I think it's a bit of a fallacy to think that. I think it's important for all of you listening to know that your boss doesn't control your life or your income or your livelihood. You control all of those things. And if you're not happy, you've got to do something about it. Another thing that is important for you to really ingrain in your leadership style is the ability to effectively communicate and create clarity, especially in the midst of chaos. That is something that is very tricky to do, to be able to maintain your composure and stay calm and collected when the world is burning down around you. But it is important for the people on your team to see that Sean is calm, collected. That gives them a sense of comfort and knowing that everything's going to be okay. So when it comes to creating clarity, yes, you've got to maintain your composure, but you actually also have to set very clear guidance and direction. The biggest part of that is challenging is that people listen to different things different ways. So you could share a story with 15 people in the room, and 13 of them are going to walk away with a different impression of what you said. That kind of segues into the importance of knowing your audience and being able to communicate effectively, send a very clear message, and do it consistently, day in, day out, week after week, month after month. You have to be able to share that same message as consistently as possible over a period of time so that people really know where your head is at. You've got to be able to empower the people on your team. They need to know that you trust them and that you're going to give them the tools necessary to succeed. So when you think trust, clarity, and empowering the people on your team, those are three big ones. But I think the most important one, which is going to be number 4, is being passionate about what you do. When you're a strong leader and you love what you do and you're fulfilling your purpose in life, that shows through. People see it. It gives them energy. They know, hey, I've got a strong leader. I've got someone who has my back, and I'm going to do everything I can to ensure they are successful, the team is successful, and I am successful. So going to be a little bit of a shorter episode today. I was thinking about that and wanted to jump on here real quick, kind of show the new studio coming together, this Wolfhead logo. Absolutely love it. My table that I built, absolutely love it. Again, I'll do a little virtual tour once the room is entirely finished. So super excited about it. I had to record something, in the studio today. So in closing, I want to thank everybody for taking the time, listening to the show. Once I get the studio finished up, I'll start having guests come in. I'm getting it set up so that I can actually have up to 3 guests in here with me. Might get a little bit crowded, but I think it'll be fun. And it'll be a lot easier for me to have those types of conversations instead of only doing them virtually online. If any of the content that I'm creating for all of you is value added, please like and subscribe and share it with friends. I'm still working on trying to get my YouTube subscribers up. So any of you that can share the channel, please get some people to subscribe so that I can get that custom URL. And then, yeah, I think maybe next week I'll have somebody come on the show and we'll start talking about some other topics. So that's all I've got for today. Y'all have a good one.